everyone, welcome back again to Angela's Craft Room. Today I've got card number 6, so the final card of our 6 series using the Winter Woods bundle. This is the stamp set and this is the framelits. So we're only going to be using this framelit today and this one and this one. So they're the 3 framelits, and then we're going to be using this tree and these ones here. So we'll just put that aside. So this is the card I've come up with for number 6. So I've done another Christmas card. This is all sponged, but I'm not going to sponge it all on camera because it would just take too long. So I have pre-sponged one, but I will show you a couple of tips when sponging, and maybe later on I can just do a sponging tutorial for you. So to start with, I'm going to go with Night of Navy this time. So that's 11 inches long by 4 1/8 of an inch wide and scored at 5.5. And then I've already gone ahead and put the inside in, so you can see I've used a lovely big tree, and I've just, whatever ink was left on the stamp, I just inked it right next to it. So it's like the stamping off technique. And that piece inside there measures 3 7/8 of an inch by 5 1/4 of an inch. Okay, so I'll put that aside. And then we're going to use a piece of shimmery white, which measures 5 3/8 of an inch by 4 inches. Now with that, normally I would, for this technique, as you can see, it's quite nice and even cut there. So how I did that, normally I would just use a tearing technique, but I thought I'm doing the Winter Woods tutorial, so I've taken this hillside framelit from In The Woods Framelits, and I just popped that onto my piece of Whisper shimmery white. So it doesn't matter which way you put it round, it's just up to you what sort of look you are after. And then popping it through the big shot, it will cut a nice smooth hill for you. And then I just take the scissors and I just chop off the ends like so, and then we've got a nice bottom part all nice and smooth. So also I punched out a piece of Eclipse masking tape with a 2-inch circle punch, and I've just stuck that down onto there, so I need to turn that round like that. And then I'm going to grab my Stamparatus. I've got my ink pads all ready. I'm going to stay with the same colour, seeing that I've got the ink pads all inked up. So, sorry about that. So we're just going to open the Stamparatus and I'm just going to pop that under there. So now we've got this piece already cut. What we want to do first, doing this card, we want to stamp these background trees, is what the first step is. So we need a really good black ink. So you can use StazOn or Memento or whatever you've got there. So I've just got a little cubed black one, and you just want this to be nice and black and detailed. So I'm just going to stamp that up, and the good thing with the Stamparatus is that we can not only move our image along so we can continually stamp, but we can restamp if we don't get the crisp image that we want. So I'm quite happy with that. I might just press that down there a bit better. then I'm going to lift that plate and bring it right across, and it's going to go down there. And this is the good thing where you can just stamp in a row. So it's quite a detailed stamp, so it's good to take some time just to really get into all those branches, especially when you're going to be sponging over the top of them. So this one's going to be, it might be a little bit higher, but doesn't matter. So it's just where that masking tape is, just need to add a bit more pressure. So then you can just wipe that straight off with your chamois, and I'll just wipe most of that ink off and I'll clean that up later on. And we'll just put that back into position, pop that over there, and we're ready to start sponging. So I've got some balmy blue, some Night of Navy, and some Highland Heather. Now I'm just going to show you a quick sponging because I'm not going to do the whole thing because I've already done it to save time for the tutorial, but I will come back and finish off this sponging technique for you. So taking balmy blue, I like to start off of the cardstock, and I'm using shimmery white because shimmery white, when you're blending, it tends to, your blending tool tends to glide over a little bit better. Now, I did have to re-ink this back up. One tip straight off is when you're sponging, don't have a really juicy ink pad. So you can see how it's really giving me a nice smooth texture, and I would just continue adding a little bit. This is going on a lot quicker than with the original card because my ink pad was getting a bit dry. So that is one part of the sponging, and I would just keep adding colour until I get the depth of colour that I'm happy with, okay? So that's one thing. Then I've got Night of Navy. So what I'm going to do with the Night of Navy, because when you've stamped using the masking tape, you're going to get a little gap around your moon. So you want to take something that, like the Night of Navy, that's pretty dark, and just go round. You can see that I'm starting on the masking tape and I'm just sponging off just around the moon. So I would normally just keep going until I get enough, and I'm not worried about going up there near the balmy blue because you're going to have to blend all these colours in together. And then what I would do there, see, I would bring back in the balmy blue and take it back into the Night of Navy, and that's going to smooth out any marks that you might not be happy with. Now across the bottom, I just would take the balmy blue, I'm only going to do a little bit, and I just want to add, I just want to get down on my canvas, so to speak, is I would go all the way along just with the lighter balmy blue, okay? And then what I would do is I'd take the Night of Navy and I want the darker right on the edge all the way along. So I'd bring in my dark colour down at the bottom of the trees, okay, but I must emphasise that sponging is one of my favourite techniques, but you have to have a lot of patience and not rush it, and that's why I'm not going to be sponging the whole thing. And then as you see, I go back into the balmy blue, and then I bring it back over the Night of Navy, even though the Night of Navy is the darker colour, so that it really blends the two colours nicely together, okay? And then my third colour, and I do that all the way along, then in here amongst the trees, what I do is take one of our new colours, the Highland Heather, and I just going to bring that in amongst all that white area. Don't press too hard, otherwise you're going to lose all your ink right on the edge where you start. So just go soft until you get to where you need that colour. So you can see then eventually I'm going to bring in that purple colour across there. Okay, so let me push these ink pads out the way and I'll bring in the piece that I've already done. And I must tell you that I took about half an hour to get to this stage. Okay, it was just reapplying until I'm happy with how it looks. And then I'm going to take off the masking tape, and that reveals our beautiful moon, and that really shows you how lovely those blue colours really come up then. Okay, and then I've got a piece of Mary Merlot, one of our new colours, and I've embossed that with the Woodland stamp set, not stamp set, embossing folder, sorry. And I'm going to glue that straight onto the top of there like that. And you might think, oh well, why haven't I just got a little piece, because that's all that's going to be showing at the bottom. The reason is, if I did that, this is thinner than the embossing piece, and it's not going to sit on your card nice and even. So I'm going to glue that in place like that. And that's just the blending tool I use. It's not a Stampin' Up one, but I do have arthritis in the wrist, and it's the one I use when I do all my sponging, because I do quite a lot of it. But you can use the Stampin' Up sponges, or you can use the sponge brayer, or you could use the daubers, the sponge daubers. So I'm just going to glue that right to the top. I don't want to see any of that embossed cardstock at the top. So that's nice and even. I just thought it was nice to have a little bit of embossed showing at the bottom. So that goes like that. And then I'm going to bring in my Night of Navy base, and I'm just going to glue that straight on there. But I just emphasize that you must take your time when you're sponging. When you hurry, that's when you're going to get blotches, and it's not going to give you that nice smooth look. I get asked all the time, how do I get my sponging to be such a smooth finish? Well, it's a lot of patience, and it's taking your time. If you want to do a quick card, don't do sponging. So that's going to be down on the card, like so. So the sponging is the thing in this particular card that takes the time. So you can see through my sponging there, I don't know if you can see the Highland Heather just through there. Okay, so that was just a matter of just adding and adding until I was happy with it. So that's the base of our card, and you could just put a sentiment there, and you could just leave the card like that if you wanted to. But I'm going to take it one step further, where I've stamped and cut in Night of Navy ink the base of the tree, and then I've cut out one of the framelits that's got all those lovely 3D images. And then all you need to do is just make sure you just lift these up, because it's very delicate until we glue it to our base. So that's the ideal of having the base. Now the one thing that you could do, that I did with the first card, was I just took a bit of balmy blue and I just went round the edges. Not being too fussy, because most of this is going to be covered, but I just thought it was nice just to take it away from those white edges when we're going to. And then also then what I did then is I actually got a bit of balmy blue and just went, and you've got to be careful because it is flimsy. Because I haven't even really pulled those die cuts up as yet. Even if you just push them down with a bit of ink on them. And then you can bring in a little bit of Night of Navy just down the middle, and even just a little bit of highlighting in with the Highland Heather. Just really what you want to do. Now I'm just going to bring in a bit more there because it's just a bit, I just wanted a bit more colour there. Just going to bring in a bit of Highland Heather over that. Just and once again I would take a lot more time normally to do that, but then I'm just going to, I'm not putting glue on these cut out pieces that have been cut out with the Big Shot. I'm just turning it over, and on the flat part I'm just going to add a bit of glue. And you don't need a lot because you don't want the glue oozing out when you put it down, but you don't want it to be you don't want it to be lifting off when the person has the card either. So I might just put a couple of dots up the top there. And if you think you get too much, you just get a cotton bud and just whisk a bit off. Now to line it up, I'm just going to line the two peaks of the both trees, and I find that's the easiest way to line it up. And just have a look at the sides as you're putting it down to try and get the sides even, like that. And then I would just use my fingers just to flick these little pieces up a little bit, because you don't want them up too far. But by stamping the solid tree underneath in Night of Navy, you're not just looking at a stark white cutout. Through these little things, you're seeing, through the branches, you're seeing the Night of Navy as well. Just one more to pull up. And you could curl them up with a bone folder if you wanted to. So then we're just going to bring this back in, and I'm going to position it about there. Now I don't want to flatten those pieces that I've just pulled out, so I'm just going to put some dimensionals. And this is a great way to really make your card pop using this bundle. It's a beautiful bundle. But as I said, this is the 6th card today that in our 6 card series that I said I was doing using the Winter Woods bundle. And I just wanted to show that even though it's in the Christmas catalogue, the holiday catalogue, I wanted to show that it can be used all year round. And I think this is one of the most versatile sets that is in the holiday catalogue, in my opinion. Now I'm just going to, it's just wherever you want to put it really. Then I'm just going to, you only want to press down where the dimensionals are, and then because it's on the card now and the base, we can start pulling these up. And you can spend as much time doing it as you like, or as little time. It just depends how much you want to play around with it. Then what I did was I've already stamped a greeting, 'tis the season, and I just back that onto some Merry Merlot. That was using a retired punch. I have got a new punch coming that I'll share with you when it comes, because it is fabulous for these little sayings. Okay, and then the tag punch, I punched that out in Night of Navy, and then I just grabbed some mini dimensionals and just pop them on the back of the sentiment. So you only need to put like about 3 on there, so I'll just grab the backs off of them. And then just try and center it the best way you can. So just press down on the dimensionals. And then if you had left it and hadn't put this tree there, you could actually have the sentiment there if you wanted to. It would go really well. Then I'm just going to grab just a couple, I'm only going to put 4 on here, of the normal sized dimensionals. So I just need one more. So we'll just get that off so we can put that on, and I'll just let you know, I'm not going to do it on camera, but I have shown you in the previous, one of the previous cards, using this bundle, using the embossing paste. So that was just a pure black and white card, and it was just a white Christmas tree, and I put the embossing paste on. So now I'm just going to put that, just press down where the dimensionals are. Don't press down anywhere else, otherwise you'll squish it and it'll leave a dent. So then my final thing, I'm going to leave that card as it is, but the final thing I did with this one was I just, on each little cutout, I put some embossing, shimmery white embossing paste, and then while it was still wet I put a rhinestone on each one. So that's the original one with the embossing paste, and this one is without. And as I said, you could leave this whole tree off, and you could, if you didn't have the frame, let's say, you could leave this tree off and you could just put the sentiment down there. So I hope you've enjoyed the series of 6 cards using the Winter Woods bundle. I certainly have really enjoyed pushing my creativity to try and create 6 cards for you. So I hope you've enjoyed it, and thank you so much for spending a little bit of your time today with me. Please subscribe to my channel, and until next time, happy crafting!